was hoping that your guest can help me change my mind about some things. I'm a white male, and I am prejudiced. I am prejudiced. I am prejudiced.
Let's remember where the word Nazi even comes from. It comes from Germanic people who were who proclaimed to have this superior race. That's what white supremacy is. That's what white supremacy is in the U.S. We are talking about a systemic economic barrier that prevents black and brown people who were already on this land from even obtaining land in various different ways.
The main issue we're talking about here is there's black people who've never been slaves asking for money from white people who've never owned slaves. And so it's difficult for me to be able to wrap my brain around owing somebody something when I clearly don't owe them anything.
And the reason it is something I wasn't taught, but it's kind of something that I learned. When I opened up the papers, I get very discouraged at what young black males are doing to each other and the crime rate. I understand that they live in an environment with a lot of drugs. You have to get money for drugs, and it's a deep issue that goes beyond that. But when I have these different fears.
This country specializes in vilifying black and brown folks. Let's just be clear. The president picked that narrative about gang activity deliberately because he's picking that narrative to explain our Hispanic, mainly Hispanic on the southern border, sisters and brothers. He doesn't use that same narrative with other immigrants in this country. Even when he made the shithole country comment, he was talking about countries and nations of color. So let's not delude ourselves. This is a deliberate narrative that the president has used. It is a deliberate policy that his administration has put in place to dehumanize black and brown people in this country, and it plays to a certain segment of this country.
When the Trayvon Martin case happened, Michael Brown and Tamir Rice and all these different things happen, every single case, it's some little black asshole behaving like a savage, and he gets himself in trouble, shockingly enough. Whatever problems I might have with my fellow white people, they generally are not inclined to such behavior, and you gotta kind of take that into consideration.
A second black grad student at Yale University has come forward saying that the white student who called the campus police this week on a black student who fell asleep while studying in a common room of a dorm did it to him back in February.
I have said over and over and over again, I'm trying to make this clear, and I'm quoting Malcolm when I say this, that white is a state of mind. You're as white as you think you are, as white as you choose to be. I said it's a moral choice. I don't think that we've come this far to fall into the European nightmare. That's exactly how the European nightmare began, by dictating to other people how they should live. We haven't got the right to do that.
And I come off as being prejudiced, but I just have fears. I don't like to be forced to like people. I like to be led to like people through example. And what can I do to change? What can I do to change? What can I do to change?
Thank you so much for being honest and for opening up this conversation, because it's simply one of the most important ones we have to have in this country. We are not a country that is united because we are all one racial group that all descended from one tribe in one community. That is actually, I think, what makes this country beautiful, but it's our challenge. We are the most multiracial, multi-ethnic, wealthy democracy in the world. And so, asking the question you asked, how do I get over my fears and my prejudices, is the question that all of us, and I will say people of all races and ethnicities and backgrounds, hold these fears and prejudices. Most of them are actually unconscious, right? You'll say to yourself, I'm not prejudiced, but of course, we all have them.
And I don't want my fears to come true, so I try to avoid that.
Because we know that actually nightly news and many media markets that have been studied actually over-represents African-American crime and under-represents crimes that happen by white people. So what can you do? Get to know black families who are not all, and not even any majority, are involved in crime and gangs. join a church if you are a religious person that is a black church or a church that is interracial. Start to read about the history of the African American community in this country. Foster conversation in your family and in your neighborhood where you're asking exactly those kinds of questions. This fear of communities that we do not live near. We are still a very, very segregated country. Millions of white Americans live in places where they rarely see anyone of a different race. This fear and set of ideas that we only get from the worst possible news, it's tearing us apart. And we know that in order to be our name means the people of a nation, demos. In order to be a demos that is united across lines of race and class and gender and age, we have to foster relationships. We have to get to know who one another actually is. And we are always, I think, as Americans, surprised when we build relationships across race.